I remember the first time I saw him. I was taking a walk, like sometimes I do. I was never scared to go out at night. My neighborhood never had any crime bigger than shoplifting or speeding. I was taking a walk through the local park and I had just sat down on a bench. Underneath a lamppost was this dark black cat. This dark black cat walked out in front of me. I heard him though I heard him purring. He didn't seem like he was going to hurt me, so I reached out and started to pet him. He meowed and made cute little noises and purred. He began to purr louder and brush up against my leg, as cats do. He opened his mouth, not to meow, but he showed me his teeth, like he was smiling just for a second. Then he closed it. Something made a rustle in the bush ahead and he bolted off. It was getting pretty late, so I started to walk home. I got to my door, and right as I put the key in, I heard a meow from right behind me. I turned around and there, that same cat, sitting up, looking right at me with his big green eyes. It was a scary green almost, a neon. Now, I know you aren't supposed to feed wild animals, but I couldn't help it. He looked so hungry. I went inside and hurriedly got a paper plate and put some small slices of ham on it. I opened the door to give it to him, but he was gone. So I set the plate down right outside my front door and made the psst, psst sound that almost every cat comes to, but there was no trace of him. After I went to bed, it was around 11:30 that night, I woke up to something tapping on my window. I would have been a bit scared had I not been too sleepy to comprehend anything. I turned over in my bed to see that same cat sitting up with those big green eyes right on my windowsill. He was definitely smiling now. I could see the slice of white near his mouth, as his teeth were just barely showing. His tail was flailing happily, like his tail had a mind of its own, and bouncing against my window in the process. I didn't notice at the moment, but I realized something later that day. I always keep my blinds down and closed and my curtains over the window. But when I saw the cat, the curtains were parted and the blinds were up. I woke up that day not remembering that sight and got ready for my usual day. Fast forward a few hours, I don't want to bother with details. I left my work office 30 minutes away from my house, and there in the parking lot right beside my car was that same cat, sitting and smiling with green eyes that looked even bigger, looking right at me. At this point, I knew something was up. I called animal control and they came and caught him. When they were taking him away, he was staring at me with eyes narrowed. With eyes narrowed, like he was planning to kill me for giving him away. I allowed my peace and mind the rest of the day until that night. Sorry. I didn't take a walk that night. I was a bit unnerved about the cat. In fact, I don't even think I left the house for the rest of the day. Right before I fell asleep, I could have sworn I heard pawing on my bedroom door, but I dismissed it as my laundry machine, a mouse, or some other common sound. But that morning I woke to something terrifying. That same cat laying right there at the end of my bed, asleep, still with that smile on his face. I could even see a few teeth that were so long they were sticking out of his mouth. I had had enough. I knew I would probably have the animal rights people down my throat about what I was going to do, but I didn't care. I grabbed the cat by the neck, and he didn't even scream or thrash around like a normal cat would. I threw it in the backyard and beat it to death with a shovel. Throughout the whole 10 minutes process, he didn't meow or hiss even once. When I regained control of my thoughts and actions, the cat was barely recognizable. Its 2 front legs were broken, his right ear torn, and his ribs demolished. The cat and his face had a huge dent in it. I couldn't believe what I had done. I didn't have to come to work till the next day, so I put his mangled corpse in a box and drove far out of the city. I buried it near a forest side on the road. Do you know why? Because I'm a jerk. I was really shaken. I thought about this and how the cat had gone inside my bedroom, let alone my house. I didn't want to think about it. I got some lunch and fast food from a restaurant, went home, and I had a nap. I was exhausted and I was only 12:30. I guess I slept through the whole day, but I wish I slept longer. I woke up on my own, and I was immediately compelled to look to my window. I saw what scared me for the rest of my life, the cat, with its damaged body, smiling larger than ever before, and staring right at me. His eyes were not bright green anymore. They were pitch black, as if his pupils had enlarged to his entire eye. He looked at me and started to dance. His broken limb is flailing about in an unnatural manner. His left leg still bent the wrong way, and his ear was still torn. I screamed and ran for my life. I got my car and drove far away from that city as possible. I'm now trying to start a new life in a new state, and I will be damned if I ever interact with any wild animals again. One day I came home from my new job and went to my bedroom. I saw something on my bed. It was that cat. He looked brand new, but his eyes were still pitch black, and he opened his mouth and smiled. And his claws are longer, and blood came out of his mouth. His eyes got longer, and he kept getting bigger and bigger, and then he jumped and swung his sharp claws. I nearly was dead, but luckily police came and shot the cat. I still have trauma about this incident.